Coach, what does Chris Evans bring to the Bengals backfield?
I'm really excited about Chris. He really did a nice job down at the Senior Bowl. He's got a unique kind of story and how he got to where he is at this point. But man, he came to the Senior Bowl and you saw all the things that you'd want to see from a back. A guy that he's big enough to carry the ball. He doesn't have any very limited production at Michigan. But man, the Senior Bowl stuff was really good. He's got really natural hands. He's a really good route runner, and really every time you watched him at the Senior Bowl, he kept beating people one-on-one, and that was really a determining factor for him. He's extremely intelligent, so he's one of those guys that'll probably excel picking up pass protection schemes and those types of things. I'm excited about Chris, very much so.
Coach, do you count his adversity as a positive in the sense that he owned it, rebounded from it, and made the best of it?
Yeah. He made mistakes as all of us have at some points in our life, and I think that he owned up to them, and he did all the things that he could do in his power to make the best impression after that. And I do think that his story, what he decided to do in between his time when he was suspended at Michigan, he worked 2 or 3 jobs and was a part-time coach at a high school football team. I mean, it's just an interesting. He's a really top-notch kid. I think his character's as good as anybody's. And so, whenever you see guys make mistakes and do all the things they can do to rectify that and work their way back into good standing, I think is admirable.
Thank you.
Yeah, Brian, how much did y'all talk to Harbaugh and that staff kind of when you were vetting him, and kind of how are those? I mean, what kind of feedback did you get from the folks on staff in Michigan?
Jordan Kovacs was there on staff in Michigan, so he had a good feel for him. And we've contacted a couple of different sources there, but really I think he made a good impression on his own at the Senior Bowl. In our time with him down there, watching him on the field and in our interview, that really I thought he would have been a really perfect target for where we had him. We knew he wasn't going to get drafted high because he had no production. But as a projection, he's got all the skill set you would want in a running back.
Brian, is it almost a benefit to have a running back come into the league? And yeah, experience is the best teacher. At the same time, it's a tough position. So the fact that he is fresh and he hasn't had 4,000 carries, right? And I'm exaggerating, but is that a plus?
Yeah, I think it goes both ways. But when you're talking about keeping a guy that at a high impact and high tread position, that there's only so many carries those guys got in their bodies. And so, yeah, when you get a chance to get a guy that doesn't have a lot of them that you think could be really productive, it's going to help for the longevity of his career, no question. I do think that probably lends itself to being better longer, perhaps. But then on the flip side of it is you don't get to actually see, you don't have enough tape to see him actually do it consistently. So it's a projection and you're uncertain what exactly you're going to get. Whereas guys, at least that have a bunch of carries, you know exactly what you're going to get.
He had much special teams experience, Coach. He played a lot of special team snaps.
If he hasn't, he's going to. That's kind of how you make the team as a running back.
Right.
Anymore. He didn't have a lot of playing time, period. I know it's not a question of whether he can do it or not. He's got all the skills to play on special teams, and he's going to have to go do it.
Since you have Joe Mixon, was Evans' ability as a pass catcher, I guess, a big change of pace factor to get?
Yeah, he fits that role. He's with Joe and Samaje, we got two big backs that can come downhill and thump you, and both of those guys, both Joe and Samaje, can catch the ball to the backfield. And Chris brings a little bit of an element that, as a natural pass catcher, that fits a need for us as far as when you look at how you're going to stack your running back room. Only 3 of them get up on game day, so you got to have guys that can do a bunch of different stuff. And obviously, his special teams will separate him in a competition. That's where it always separates. So, he's going to come in and compete. Obviously, there's no guarantees for anything, but he's definitely got some traits that we like.
Yeah, but Brian, how much stock can you really put in special teams? I mean, is that really a value at this point in the draft? I mean, what do you, and I'm only just saying that to tweak Simi here. because I know he's a butchy spot. But seriously, I mean, at this point in the draft, when you're getting guys, do they really need to be multifaceted and give as much value as possible when you're taking them this late?
Yeah, it's not even necessarily just for them as a player. Like, we see the things we like, from a scheme fit for the player and all that stuff. But when you're talking about making the roster an avenue to the 53, if you're a running back and you're carrying 3 on game day that are going to be up, you don't have a choice as the third back. You have to be able to contribute on special teams if you're going to be active. And if you're not, the next guy that's going to be active is the guy that can contribute on special teams. So especially for the running backs, it's an important part of the position.
2 more minutes.
Brian, he wasn't productive in recent seasons, but he was as a freshman. Was that a key consideration too, to know that at least at some point in his career, there was something there on the field? Yeah. If he had 0 production all the way around, that'd be pretty tough. But I know he was also a relatively highly recruited kid coming out of high school too. So, there's at least a little bit of evidence, but I think that he really helped himself at the Senior Bowl. And then his pro day workout was really impressive. And so that helped. He helped himself there too, just in the eyes of seeing the athleticism and the traits that you want to see from a back. Obviously not enough of the in pads defense live, but certainly enough things that flashed on tape and at the Senior Bowl.
Coach, a lot of people obviously are enamored with the aerial game. You've got Higgins and Boyd and now Chase coming in, but I got to believe you're probably as excited for your running game as well with what you have and what you're adding.
Well, there's no doubt that the running game helps everybody. It helps keep you manageable when you're down a distance. It helps continue to keep the play action a viable threat. And there is a point in time in football where you have to be able to impose your will some, and the running game is a huge part of that. So I definitely am excited about where we're headed in the run game, both schematically and with the players that we have and have added. So I think that those guys are up to the challenge. We got to get better in that area, statistically, no question. And for our offense to take off the way we want it to, we got to be able to run the ball.
One more question.
It's probably a little early for this question, but I'll just go ahead and ask it anyways. It's day 3 of the draft. When you're looking at third down backs and what your usage is going to look like for the guys currently on the roster, is Evans a guy you want to put in there at third? Is that Samaje? Does that responsibility fall to Joe? I mean, what are the conversations like about what y'all are going to do on third downs now that Gio's gone?
I mean, I don't want Joe to leave the field personally, and I think that he's up to that challenge. So he's got some things he's got to improve on to be able – he's pass protection-wise, reliability and executing assignments more consistently. But, I mean, Joe shouldn't come off the field. He should be on the field every down. He should catch every pass that comes out of the backfield. He should be in on every protection that's required of him. And and he's aware of that. That's not anything new or a discussion that we haven't had. And then, Samaje has been an excellent pass protector when called upon. So we feel really good about those two guys, and how that role shakes out from there is up to the competition behind him. So Chris Evans definitely fits the mold of a guy that has a multifaceted skill set that can go protect. He's big enough to protect. He's smart enough to diagnose, and he's got the strength and pass catch ability to be effective in the pass game. So, it's going to be a fun competition all the way around. But ultimately, I would see that Joe would be the primary guy to start in all facets of the running back room.